Welcome, everyone, to the Sickos Committee podcast. This is our podcast for the evening of July 30th, 2023. We are officially 4 weeks away from the college football season, which means that we have to get serious about things. We have to talk about conference realignment and SEC drama. Is Georgia going to win the title this year? These are the things that you follow us for. Because, of course, our first thing in our podcast notes is talking about the CFL, which means we're ready for the fucking season. As always, I'm Jordan, and with me tonight I have Kamish, permanent squatters Pit Girl and Beth, and guests Joey and Kevin. Joey, how are you, sir?
I'm doing okay. I actually feel a little guilty because, unfortunately, a family member of mine has betrayed the trust of the Sickos Committee and our Bluey fandom because my brother, who is a voice actor, just got the lead role on Paw Patrol.
Oh,
so unfortunately, he has betrayed us.
Chase is on the case.
He says that now. That's his voice now.
Oh no.
Every time you hear Chase is on the case, that's my brother's voice. Every time I'm in the stores, like I went to the dollar store the other day and there was a giant like Paw Patrol display and I just took a picture and texted them. I was like, "Saw it at the store today."
There is a version of Chase. Chase is the police dog, by the way, for the folks that don't know this. And there is Spy Chase. Spy Chase has a fucking drone, okay?
Tell me this show isn't propaganda.
It's entirely propaganda.
Dogs.
It's crazy because it's all made in Hamilton, Ontario, which is that is a crazy city to have any sort of media.
Dogs as cops?
Dogs
as cops.
Dogs as cops.
Okay.
It's also funny that someone did a really great... They watched all the episodes because whenever they call all the pups to the lookout tower, they call all the pups, but then Ryder only picks 2 of them to go on to things. And so they look at which pups were always there. And it turns out that Chase, the cop dog, is the one that always gets picked. And
Good
usually Sky, the only girl dog, by the way, in the main cast, who has a helicopter and is super useful, usually she has to be brought in after Ryder picks the 2 boy dogs to go do things. And then they need help, so Sky comes in. Yep.
Fuck
the patriarchy.
Fuck the dog patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Defund Paw Patrol.
It's government funded. It's made by TV Ontario.
Oh.
So yes, that is a genuine argument.
APAB, all pups are bastards. Kevin, how are you?
I'm good. Little sleep deprived on the World Cup schedule, but otherwise I'm good.
Beth, how are you, ma'am?
I fucking hate shirts.
Like
Don't
in
tell
general,
Homefield that.
Or
No, home field shirts are wonderful and beautiful and everyone should buy them. So I am a musician, as most of you know. I have to play in a whole lot of ensembles. Generally, when you play in an ensemble, they give you a uniform. Every single time you get a uniform, it's actually a dudiform, because whenever we have to put people in clothing, it's actually dude clothing. It's never girl clothing. So what?
Preach.
I played 3 gigs today. Every one of them, I was wearing a button-down or polo shirt and khakis. No one looks good in khakis.
Gig 'em.
I hate this so much. I don't understand why it's like, well, we have to put you in a nice gender-neutral outfit. And by gender-neutral outfit, we mean menswear. Like,
Yep.
It's awful. Listen, I am still young. I still have a little bit of youth that I am clinging to. And in this one last halcyon summer of my life, I'm being trapped in clothing that makes it look like I was put in a potato sack and shoved down the stairs. I look lumpy and awful and I hate it. Why do I have to do this? This sucks. Other than that, my day was fine.
I'm now thinking of every time, because I got better about when I was teaching, just letting kids wear whatever concert black they wanted. But for a while, I definitely got like the band polo, and everyone wears khakis. And
Yep.
I didn't know we were going to be talking trash about Harbaugh right away. I mean, that's on
I
the
know.
show notes a little bit later, but
he wears so many pleats. He wears pleated khakis, and
Okay.
like he looks like I did going to like homecoming in '99. I think I wore khakis, a leather braided belt, and maybe a tucked in polo shirt.
Oh God.
If you look like you're trying to hide a muffin top in origami, something has gone terribly wrong. There are other choices that you can make. You don't have to do this. No one needs to do this.
You didn't have to call me out like that. That was unnecessary.
There are other ways. There are other things. There are flattering cuts that we can put on every human body. Everyone deserves to look wonderful. No one looks good in khakis.
Well, I was going to say the iconic Harbaugh look is, I mean, on Team Beth, the shirt hater, where he is shirtless in khakis running like a quap man during practice.
That one. the worst combination. Is it he's wearing a polo shirt and no pants? That's weird, but okay, whatever.
I think that might be worse.
It's context dependent.
Because he wears tidy whities. We're all agreed on this, right?
Yeah.
There's no way he
No,
does it.
Long johns.
The tidiest imaginable. Like this is a dude who gets the Hanes 20 pack at Walmart.
Mm-hmm. But that and just like a Michigan polo.
I'd be willing to bet that he wears the lucky ones on Ohio State week that are basically just the waistband and a few shreds of fabric. And that
I didn't need that mental image.
And I never want to think about Jim Harbaugh ever again now.
He definitely wears a cup all the time, though, right?
Not
Just
a cup,
not
a jock
expect
strap.
to
A jock
open
strap.
tonight with Jim Harbaugh's underwear.
Commish looks this confused.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Commish has not said a word all episode.
I mean, I did say to defund Paw Patrol, but I said we're slandering Harbaugh early. I didn't say that, but yeah, I didn't imagine it would take
It's
this
only
turn.
slander if it's not true.
I'm just imagining, he's got the robe, the polo shirt underneath, then the underwear or whatever, and he's got these really, really bad slippers, and he's going outside to get the paper because he because he still
100%.
subscribes to the paper, guaranteed, and he has to have that every day. Yes.
I have two questions, and I'm going to ask them both to Kevin because I think he can be the most balanced in this. Kevin, question number 1, can we FOIA this? Question number 2, should we FOIA this?
FOIA what? What Hardball wears to get his paper in the morning?
If he buys his underwear on a company card.
Matt Brown, please come back on the podcast.
Yeah, why are you asking me? You had the insider last week. The man is built like a boxy polo, so wear what you know.
Hey, we said there's fits for everyone.
Yeah.
Hey, girl, how are you?
I am good. I had college friends over, and I got to get my dad on, despite being female and childless, and grill for my friends, which was fabulous.
All people's
Nice.
is dads. All people
That's right.
are dads.
Dad is a state of mind.
The two genders are dad and uncle.
Mm-hmm. I took down the baby gates today.
Yeah. Kamesh, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Just just chilling. And,
Literally.
I don't really know what to say here because I mean y'all know, but I don't know if I want to tell the podcast audience.
Yeah, I don't know what you want to share.
Just like some
An injury.
sure, whatever, injury, self-inflicted wound.
Commission's
So to
playing
speak.
hurt tonight.
I am playing hurt. I am icing. I am not using any frozen vegetables. I'll say that.
No hail to Peasus.
No hail to peas or Drew peas, but nothing like that. It's been an
Glad you're
interesting
here.
Weekend.
We're glad you're here. We're glad you're in one piece for the most
Yeah.
part.
Oh yeah, I'll be fine. It's just just a little recovery, about a little bit over 48 hours from it. So doing good. Just glad to be here and can't wait to podcast.
I'd first like to say, shout out to our last week's guest, Matt Brown. We were joking that we were going to get him sick. And then he ended up actually getting sick and ended up in the ER. Matt, I hope you feel better. And I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to lick the microphone and get you sick.
Sickos committee.
Hey,
It did what it said on the tin.
you know,
Dead bird inside.
Do not eat.
I don't know what I expected.
So our first big story tonight is that we have a record that was broken. Pour one out for the St. Louis Browns. They were an MLB team. In 53, they managed to lose 20 home games in a row. Another North American professional sports franchise has broken it. The Edmonton Elks have lost 21 straight home games. They got blanked by the BC Lions, and they've lost 21 in a row in their home stadium. This goes back to before COVID.
God.
Yikes.
The Canadian men's national soccer team has won 2 more games than Edmonton in that time span. In that same stadium.
Ouch. This is going to sound bad, but I'm a little surprised that Northwestern hasn't done this.
So
Well-
this doesn't count. This doesn't count.
It's professional.
Okay.
Professional
only.
because-
Okay.
because Prairie View A&M actually might hold this because they didn't win a single game for about 8 years in a row.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Teal would be awfully close right now. But yeah.
Oof.
So yeah, this is professional only.
Okay.
So the record was held by the St. Louis Browns, the baseball team, which became the Orioles, I believe.
Correct.
And then beyond that, the Dallas Mavericks lost 19 homes straight in 93-94. And then the Pittsburgh Penguins lost 14 homes straight from 03 to 04. The Cowboys lost
Yep.
14 88-89, and the St. Louis Rams lost 14 home straight from 8-10.
If you're ever asking yourself, how do you get Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and Marc-Andre Fleury, the answer is that.
Yes,
Well,
that's
and you
what I was
almost
gonna
moved
say.
to Oklahoma City first.
Yeah, I
but-
don't want to talk about that.
And
I was real
Hamilton.
sad.
So that's the thing. If you look down this list, St. Louis after 08-10 didn't do great, but Dallas after those seasons did very, very well.
Mhm.
Pittsburgh after those seasons, like you said, rebuilt very fast. Mario Lemieux was a big part of that because he saw them losing like that. It was like, I don't care, I'm old and retired. I need to be on the ice now.
Yep.
And ended up rejuvenating hockey in Pittsburgh, and they're still there and a very good team. The Mavericks, I believe, got really good really fast after that year.
Ish, yeah.
Yeah.
The Browns moved to Baltimore and became good. That's not coming for the Elks. There's no hope right now, and it's not like the CFL draft is a wealth of talent. And the thing is, they're not really supposed to be this bad. They were projected last in the West at the start of the year, but I mentioned this on the CFL episode. The CFL West usually puts 4 teams above the number 1 CFL East team. This is unprecedented for a CFL West team to be this bad for this long.
I hope they turn around because, good God, no one deserves to watch their team do this for 4 years.
So they
I really want them to be good because they have the coolest logo in the league now.
Yeah,
Yes.
Straight
It's
up.
an excellent
their
logo.
logo looks exactly like Max the dog from How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and I love it.
You were absolutely
Yeah,
right.
it's
correct. Yep. That's it. No,
do-
I'm glad they have a bye week. So they have a bye week after this. After they set this record, they have a bye week. Maybe they'll make some changes. I don't know what type of changes they're going to do. Their coach at the time is 4-23. I don't know what type of ownership, leadership, general manager. Do they call them general managers in the CFL?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. I didn't know if it was like general manager with like a U in there somehow.
I'm
But-
sure Montreal calls them something
Oh,
different.
yeah, guaranteed. Their defense looked fine last night watching the game. It was just their offense just could not stop going 2 and out or turning the ball over. And it was just, I just feel like the defense just got tired, which will happen.
It's gonna be difficult for them to make wholesale changes that fast because they don't. I mean, they have Packers ownership. They're community owned.
Mm.
It's gonna be hard to make any sort of changes like that. They do get Winnipeg at home the next game,
Ugh.
which
Yikes.
Winnipeg is good, but they've stumbled the last little bit. They lost to Ottawa, which nobody should lose to Ottawa. A couple weeks ago, they're coming off. I think they play BC this week, so
They
they might
just
be
played-
banged up
They
from
just
that.
played
They
BC.
just played
Yeah,
BC.
BC.
No. Winnipeg plays BC
Oh,
this
gotcha.
week,
Oh, okay.
and then they get Edmonton after Edmonton's bye week.
I just dropped their coach, by the way, is Chris Jones. I just dropped his CV in the chat. He has been all over the place. He graduated, played college football at UT Chattanooga.
What?
Woo
Go
woo.
Mox.
He's from South Pittsburgh, Tennessee.
South Pittsburgh, Tennessee.
With an H or no H?
No H.
No H.
Yeah.
It's like Pittsburgh, but south.
He has also won the Grey Cup 4 times as a coach, including once in Edmonton in
Wow.
stint 1. So we will see what happens there. We hope for a turnaround for Edmonton.
He was at Edmonton. He went to the Rough Riders. Then he went to the Browns.
Oh, there it is. Oh,
There it
shit.
is.
Oh,
That's what
Yeah.
happened.
Should've
Yeah.
never gone to the
2009,
Browns.
he went to the Browns. He was a defensive assistant coach.
And then he
And then-
played. Then he was the head coach at his high school.
Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like we can blame this losing streak on the Browns because, hey, guess what? The St. Louis Browns are on this list, right? All ties together.
It was a 6-10 Browns team.
And don't add us about how it's not the same Browns franchise. If you followed Cleveland sports, you know all Browns franchises are that Browns franchise.
Including the St. Louis Browns.
That's
Mm-hmm.
right.
Well, I think the one thing we need to talk about in terms of college football is the Pac-12 dead? Colorado to the Big 12. Breaking news. I
Insert Nico Rosberg pointing at the camera.
think Kamish said it best when he said, I think that all we want is just for everything to stabilize because we don't want the Pac-12 schools to get hosed here. Guys, I mean, if you listen to this podcast, our listeners know this, and I think that our readers know this too. We love the Pac-12.
Yeah.
We don't want them to vaporize.
Mm-mm.
We want them to be strong because having West Coast football is, one, a lot of fun. Two, that's where quarterbacks go to have, enjoy their lives. We need that place. And 3, it's legitimately fun football, and everyone can sit here and thumb their noses at it. But I don't think people realize that we are only 20 years out from like USC's heyday. We are 10 to 15 years out from Oregon's heyday. Wasn't that long ago that the Pac-12 was this big thing, and it just so happens that we've had this shift now, but we don't want this to evaporate. We don't want this to end up being a place where these teams don't have a home.
Well, particularly because point 4, I would argue, is that if the Pac-12 dies, there's an argument to be made that that is the beginning of the end of college football as like a national sport, right? That's not something that we want, as several of us are residents of areas where college football is not the biggest sport to begin with. I think it is important that college football remain relevant nationally, and the Pac-12 going away does not help that. As someone who lives in the Northeast, where that's like already not as much of a going concern as it is in other areas where folks on this podcast live.
I'm just going to say this. I really just want everything, as I said on the Twitter account. I was like, I don't want the conference to die. I don't want it to die. It's been around over 100 years in the previous form, the Pacific Coast Conference, before they got all that craziness that happened in the 50s and 60s when like 4 or 5 programs got put on probation. And so they had to disband and reform into the Pac-12. Yes, we need this. The Pac-12 is in the fabric of college football. It needs to be around. I don't care if it's the Pac-8. I don't care whatever form it takes, whatever school they need to take to survive. I know there was like a bunch that applied, like Tulane, SMU. Who else? Like Memphis? Did they apply?
Rice.
South Florida? Did
Rice.
I see South Florida too? Yes. So from Tampa to Tempe, love it. Really? I mean, give me Seattle to Tampa. What a flight. You know, that's some good old crappy NFC football too. So but back in the day, Seattle's fine. Tampa, I don't know what they're going to be without whatever that guy that just left, that famous quarterback dude. But really,
The strawberry guy.
yeah, that guy, I think he went to Michigan. I'm not sure, but it's okay. They got Blaine Gabbert still. They're all right. Yeah, they're fine. So
Harbaugh to Tampa.
No, but really, it's we're the Sickos Committee. It's very tough when stuff like this happens. There's a lot of things that are out of our control, and we don't control this, and that's why I kind of made the very bad, Master and Commander meme that popped in my head. But it's just like, the TV deals are now the new football fields, and it kind of really feels like that. You can't get your conference enough money if you don't have enough markets, and it's just it just feels so hollow at this point. And I know the Big 12 will be fine. Colorado going to the Big 12,
but that's crazy. Think about what you just said. The Big 12 will be fine.
Yeah.
Like 4 or 5 years ago, that was an unthinkable statement.
Yeah.
Well,
A year ago.
and honestly,
10 years ago.
honestly, 10 minutes from now, it could be an unthinkable
who knows?
statement.
Something could happen.
Like-
Yeah, this is a thing that comes up as an ACC person also, where everybody's like, oh, the Big 12's fine and the ACC is in danger, and it's like, okay, the Big 12 has more money now, but like you look at who's there.
Didn't you guys all sign this like weird suicide pact where you had to give up like $40 million if you left? That was
Yes,
the point?
and and the grant of rights doesn't come up until like 2035. So like Florida State is locked in here with us forever.
It also wasn't that
All
long
of which
ago.
was in response to Maryland, was it not?
It's
Like,
correct.
Yes.
I mean, but honestly, like, look at inflation. Money isn't real. Nothing is real.
No.
None of this is ever
No.
like. There's no amount where somebody's like, "Well, now you can never leave." Guess what? Somebody's always left whenever there is like the amount of money where you can never leave. It's not how this works. A big part of me wants to just be like the angry dad in the room and be like, "Could you all just sit still for
Yes.
like one goddamn minute?"
Give me 3 years, nobody fucking moving anymore. After this settles out, 3 years, nobody fucking move. All right?
Yeah.
Just give me 3.
Like-
That's all I ask for.
Yeah, like my election platform here is like, y'all just sit your ass.
Sit your ass down and stay
Okay,
in the
but what if we
conference.
rebuild the Big East?
Ah!
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Reject modernity, return to Big East.
And on the subject of the Big 12, like, it was like last year, or maybe the year before,
Yeah.
where the American thought they were going to raid the Big 12.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
things, like, we could be talking next year and be like, man, the ACC, they're taking over the Big 10. The Big 10's in trouble.
And then
I don't know about that.
and then we get to this thing of like,
Stranger
oh,
things have happened.
Colorado's a big get for the Big 12. We've all watched Colorado sports the last couple years, right?
yeah, I know.
That's just
I'm
that's
not.
the media lying to us.
I'm not fucking like imagining things.
It-
I know that they think like, okay, well, there's potential here. Well, the Pac-12 thought Colorado had potential as well. They had one winning season in the Pac-12, I believe.
And
This-
last
this
year they
has
would have
the-
taken a 1-win season.
Yes.
Yeah, this kind of has the same energy as being like, oh my god, Rutgers is leaving. Like,
Okay.
Not Rutgers.
But Colorado
Rutgers has the New York market. Come on.
Colorado win the national championship this one time.
In skiing, yes.
before several people on this podcast were born.
I was alive for the Buffs national championship.
Same.
I
but
count
yes.
3, I think.
They have a very good cross country team. Their trumpet ensemble is very good.
That'll move the needle. The trumpet
There we go.
ensemble,
Yeah.
honestly.
I think so.
Wait, does the Big 12 even sponsor trumpet ensemble? It's ruined.
No, Texas does. They're very good at that. Although Texas got SEC school now. See? Can't fucking
Yeah.
tell anymore.
I hate this.
Just
I hate
sit
all
still.
of this.
Everybody stop moving. Stop.
Well, so
Stop it.
so Kevin and I are working on we've going back and forth. We're talking about a stability metric for conferences. And in doing this, I realized that did you guys know that Idaho and Montana were part of the Pacific Coast whatever conference back in the day?
I mean, I did do that on Substack, so yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's been look, man, I read a lot of shit. Okay.
Okay. Well, I mean, I write a lot of crap, so I mean, subscribe to our Substack. It's great.
It's a lot of
It's a
crap.
lot of
I don't have object permanence. We have a Substack.
We do. We do.
But like that's these teams floated in and out of this thing for so long. This and Arizona State were not part of the Pacific Coast Conference until
Noted coastal state, Arizona.
Well, I was going to say, Arizona State was a WAC team, were they not?
no, they were a border conference team, baby.
Yeah.
Who knows how this is all gonna shake out? But I think that we can all come up with some good off the cuff solutions to help the Pac-12 survive.
Definitely.
I have one.
Go for it.
Hawaii to the Pac-12.
I love it.
Yes.
Pac-12
specific.
after darkest.
Well, super dark, yes.
The
Yeah.
darkest.
And they come with their own media deal.
do.
Put Hawaii, or put the Pac-12 all on that, what is it?
On
Team
Spectrum.
Sports?
No, Spectrum Hawaii, whatever it is.
Spectrum on
The
the island,
Team
yeah.
One Sports app where you can only watch it on your phone.
It's better than the fridge, right?
The new media rights deal. Pac-12 is going, oops, all Periscope.
I did love that half season of Hawaii football where they lost their media deal and we watched through Periscope
Pac-12 media deal on Vine exclusively.
Sorry.
in
Oh
6-second
my God.
chunks.
6-second increments.
Just needs to get done. And I think we're just going back to Colorado. In my head, they probably should have never left the Big 12.
Yeah.
So them going back, I feel like they're acknowledging they made a mistake. I mean, we had that magic season with Cepho Lafau, the Pac-12 South winning Colorado Buffaloes, where they lost to, I believe, Washington in the Pac-12
Something like that.
title game. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't win it.
And then that's where Washington wound up going to the playoff and had to have fun with Alabama.
How was that?
They had fun with Alabama. They scored. And
And it was fine, and they won forever. Amen.
I mean, they only lost 24-7. I mean, it feels like a natural thing. I have this weird scenario here where the Pac-12 kind of raids some of the Mountain West, and then ideally UTEP and New Mexico State gets into the Mountain West instead of being in
Which
conference.
is where they probably should be in the first place.
I really feel like that's where they should be, and the Mountain West is just too uppity to take them. But if they get raided by the Pac-12, which they could, I'm sure that may or may not make folks happy. Like let's say UNLV, San Diego State, and then give me what other?
No, just those two. All you need is those
Fresno,
two.
Boise.
11's fine.
I'm gonna say Fresno.
Hawaii.
Okay. Well, you can give them Hawaii. So give them Hawaii, give them San Diego State, and give them UNLV. That's the Pac-12 now, or is that math right? They're at 9.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's 12. Okay.
It's the Pac sum.
And then the Mountain West.
They're the ones who are interested in staying accurate, so they will change their name to however many
They
teams
do
are
that.
in.
I like that about the Pac-12. They will change their name to match their number, unlike these other fucking conferences here.
Yeah, there's a lizard part of my brain that's still like, it's the Pac-10. It should be the Pac-10.
But you mentioned, Kimmich, that like the prevailing wisdom on social media is that it's not gonna be a full merger. It's gonna be like the Pac-12 is gonna raid the Mountain West, and they're gonna, because I think the prevailing thought is, yeah, the Pac-12 is weak, but the brand of the Pac-12 itself is still gonna be able to draw in some of these teams like a Boise or like a UNLV to make the switch. But I think we're not going far enough here, because sure, like a complete merger with the Mountain West is off the table right now, at least not until more schools leave. But you could just straight up declare war and merge with Canada West. You got University of Alberta, you got UBC, you got the Calgary Dinos.
Oh yeah, I would love the Calgary Dinos to be in the pack.
That'd be some.
Are you missing your double brown Buffaloes team? We got the Manitoba Bison.
Oh, with the bison with the glasses and like the cane. Yes. Very
Would the potential theoretical new Pac-12 media deal, whenever it does come through, provide enough money to revive the Simon Fraser program?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I forget who it was. One of you posted about Simon Fraser
I
joining
did.
the Pac-12.
I did.
Okay. So many, like, I did not expect that many conspiracy theories to be in the replies.
Oh, all of a sudden it was like the Simon Fraser conspiracy iceberg goes way down.
I mean,
Yeah,
it was
great.
it was crazy. I didn't know that would happen. When we tweet something, we uncover things that we didn't realize are there. We tweet stuff now, it's
I
a lot of
learned
fun.
so much.
We
It's
learned so
wonderful.
much. They're like, no, they can't do this. They can't. They can only go D1 in certain sports. Then there's just arguments back and forth. One proposal I have here, right? They're at 9 teams right now. Notre Dame to the Pac-10
Okay.
to save college football. The Fighting Irish
I
join
forgot
the
about
Pac-10.
that.
God, we'd get so righteous about that. I'm already upset.
The ACC will fight you.
I forgot about Notre Dame saved college football. Remember that from 2020?
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame, our touchdown Jesus, saves the Pac-12.
Can we not?
We absolutely have to.
Okay, we
As I
can
was
move on.
searching the
And they get Notre Dame's TV deal. We did it. We fixed it, guys.
Pac-12 on
Pac-12
NBC,
NBC
exclusively.
and
We get
Peacock.
to listen to Mike Tirico.
and was it Jace Collingsworth?
Oh God.
Jack.
Or
Jack.
is Jack Collingsworth? What is the other commentator? Was it Brock Osweiler?
Jason-
Pac-12.
Doesn't Jason Garrett do those games too?
Oh yes, perfect. That's what the
Yeah.
Pac.
Yeah, honestly, Mike Tirico is the least objectionable of all of those. It's just that I hate
We
the,
had Drew
because it's
Brees
the
at
Notre
one
Dame
point.
channel.
It's
I hate
not
the Notre
a-
Dame creating. It doesn't matter who's doing it. It's just
It's there.
Yeah.
Notre
On the
Dame.
plus side, like we
saves the
might get to send, we might be able to like send Golic to Hawaii a lot. That's
Yeah.
nice.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
I would be
nice.
okay with that.
Mike Golick would really appreciate that. Golick Jr. would love it.
My commish kind of preempted this a little bit, but my proposal for filling in the Pac-12 here. Pac-12 is kind of famous for some very, very scenic stadiums. You've got Husky Stadium, which is absolutely stunning. Utah Stadium is gorgeous. And then they've lost a few of those recently with Colorado has a very beautiful stadium. The Rose Bowl is no longer going to be in the Pac-12. So I think we need to get another classic old bowl stadium that's absolutely gorgeous and bring the Sun Bowl to the Pac-12 and just bump UTEP all the way up.
Like it.
So
And with New Mexico State, let's get them both at
Get
the
them
same
both.
time.
Yeah.
Get it.
They
Package
need
deal.
a travel buddy.
Package deal.
I just realized, Kevin, you made me realize that we're gonna get to see Rutgers at the Rose Bowl.
Rutgers and
Hey.
Maryland get to go to the Rose Bowl.
which Big Ten teams have never made an actual Rose Bowl?
Well, I mean,
Which Big
Maryland
Ten teams will
and-
be playing their first
Maryland and
game
Rutgers,
in the
right?
Rose Bowl?
Maryland, Rutgers for sure.
Well, it's possible that Rutgers and Maryland like made the Rose Bowl back in the day
No.
There's,
before it was.
Rutgers,
there's
no.
no goddamn way Rutgers.
Rutgers
There's
is
no
never made
goddamn
one.
way.
Maryland maybe,
Maybe
Probably not,
Maryland.
but I'm just saying,
No.
like Pitt has been to a couple of Rose Bowls, right? So
Maybe
like it's
Maryland.
a thing that people go to sometimes when they're not in the Big Ten.
Nebraska's going
Maryland
to the
has
Rose
not-
Bowl.
Maryland has not made a Rose Bowl. Nebraska,
Is it-
List
Nebraska,
of
just-
Maryland
CU has
Terrapin
played a
Bowl
Rose
games.
Bowl.
Nebraska played in a national championship BCS game that was the Rose Bowl in 02.
Yeah, but that doesn't count.
No, but it was the Rose Bowl.
I know, but it still doesn't count.
They got blown out by Larry Coker,
Did you?
Miami. So.
Yes.
Rutgers has been to a shocking number of like big name bowl games actually, but not the Rose Bowl. 1952 Rutgers went to the Sugar Bowl.
Wait,
Or, I'm sorry,
it-
that's Maryland. That's Maryland. I can't
what,
read.
what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, I can't read. I'm sorry.
Rutgers on Bourbon Street. Woo!
Yeah, no. 1952 Maryland went to the Sugar Bowl and several Orange Bowls.
Rutgers Bowl games have been the 78 Garden State Bowl, Insight Bowl, Texas Bowl, International Bowl, PapaJohns.com Bowl, St. Petersburg Bowl, Pinstripe, Russell Athletic, Pinstripe, Quick Lane, and Gator Bowl.
Guys,
Yeah.
I think
Again,
I think I figured out
apologize.
the
I can't read.
I think I figured out the key to everything here because I found a line on the Rose Bowl game Wikipedia page. It's obviously out of date. Current Big Ten teams who have not represented the Big Ten in the Rose Bowl are Maryland, Nebraska, and Rutgers. That answers that. And here's this line. The only current Pac-12 teams that have not represented the Pac-12 in the Rose Bowl are
Arizona.
Colorado and Arizona.
Wait,
Guys, I think
when
I figured
did
it out.
Arizona State go to the Rose Bowl?
Oh, several
several
times.
times.
They've won the pack. They won the pack when they were back there.
Jake Plummer, right? Didn't they lose the Rose Bowl to Ohio State in like '97?
97. Yeah.
that
Oh,
sounds
that was
right.
good.
Yeah,
Good
it was
draw.
Joe
cool.
Germain.
So
Yeah,
that,
87-97, they went to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah,
so
I
the
was
two,
two.
The two most recent schools. The two most recent schools who are apparently trying to leave, Arizona and Colorado, the only two in the Pac-12 who never made the Rose Bowl. I think we found it, guys.
Okay.
I think we cracked the code.
They've got Rose Bowl envy, and they did not get a chance to have Keith Jackson go, whoa, Nelly, and the granddaddy of them all, and that's why they want to leave.
As we go on past this, I did want to shout out, I put up some power rankings, some literal power rankings of university nuclear reactors. And a lot of people got their fucking feelings hurt yet again. And I had people calling for, well, you need to make a list of particle accelerators. Well, you need to make a list of magnets. And it was wonderful.
It was impossible to post.
Shout out to Mizzou, who has a 10 megawatt nuclear reactor, the largest in the country.
Oh
These are all used for like research and creating like isotopes for medical use. Second place is MIT with a 6 megawatt. UC Davis has a 2.3. University of Rhode Island has a 2 megawatt, and Kansas State has a 1.25 megawatt in Manhattan, Kansas. The literal Manhattan Project.
Mm-hmm. Well, the big half of the bird puppet gets 1 megawatt, and then the little half of the bird puppet only gets 1/4 of a megawatt.
They're gonna come after us. We can't call it a bird puppet.
It's okay. We already talked about Reed College having one, which again, weird. But A&M has a 1 megawatt reactor and then a 5-watt reactor.
All I heard was Jordan said Reed College to the Pac-12.
Is the 5-watt reactor like it's a light bulb? just
And that's what everyone was saying about Idaho State. Idaho State, by the way, their science and engineering department was up in our mentions a lot, being like, check out our cool reactor. Thanks for shouting us out.
That's sweet. I like that.
I mean, go Bengals. Do your thing.
Hey,
Idaho
I bet
State.
you when you're there, you can get a tour of the reactor.
Okay, sure.
can't wait until Kamish comes back and is like lightly glowing.
Like,
They have a 5-watt reactor. I don't think it's going to do anything.
these goggles, they do nothing.
But yeah, I love posting things that are very real. Like this is entirely a true thing, but just gets people angry.
Idaho State University's reactor, the moderator in the core consists of polyethylene and polystyrene. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that is styrofoam.
I think so.
Sure, I don't.
At least one of those words I've heard used to use styrofoam.
Yeah, it's basically styrofoam. Yeah.
I've never seen so many Missouri fans like be this excited about our account before.
Oh, they were so excited.
They were so hyped that they were number one. And I mean, I think they were throwing facts at us. They were just like, well, the strongest the research reactor could be is 10 megawatts. And we're at the limit, so nobody can beat us. And I'm like, my God,
yes,
Missouri.
Wonderful, thank you.
I'm like, thank you so much, Mizzou. Just incredible. I love it. I love the school pride that you just throw. Let's do some actual literal power rankings.
I do need to apologize that the list I pulled of powered down reactors was incomplete.
Ugh.
Because once I posted that, everyone was like, well,
Well.
you didn't know that fucking like Middle Tennessee had a 40, I don't know.
They had one in 1989. How dare you? That's how they built the Jello shot machine.
They took the uranium core out of the old reactor and put it right into the Jello shot
That's right.
machine.
Hey guys, watch this as I take a Jello shot while playing with the demon core.
Just me and a screwdriver. The more I hear about the demon core experiments where the dude was just like, I'm not going to use wedges. I'm just going to use a screwdriver to keep these two halves of this giant plutonium core from
He
touching.
did it as a party trick. He brought people into the room, so went, guys, watch this.
Hold my beer.
No, literally.
Hold my-
It was literally that until they all died of radiation poisoning.
Oh.
So which conference is that? Is that the new whack whatever?
That's the United Conference, sir.
Right, United
The
United
UAC.
Conference.
United
Which
Athletic-
we'll have a
UAC.
preview eventually for that.
A couple more things. First off, Big Ten Media's Days. They did serve, quote, pre-wrapped cheeseburgers, which feels like a shot at Jim Harbaugh. Why
I
are they
think-
called pre-wrapped? Like, what possible...
Gas station cheeseburgers.
Straight
That's what I said.
cash homie.
The idea that you put that on the thing, on the little like food tag, like, oh, this is, a burger and a brioche bun. Nope, this is a pre-wrapped cheeseburger. I don't know.
They called it what the delivery company called it. They just kept it on there.
Well, we did see today that whatever they're serving at the big house, it's like Sam's Club chicken tenders and mac and cheese and the saddest hot dog I've ever seen. So I don't know what they're doing in Michigan, but the food is not great.
Extremely
Sub
Big
Costco hot
Ten.
dog.
As friend of the show, Lucy put it, boy dinner.
Yeah.
It's very bad.
I'm just gonna say that this is definitely Sodexo horrible catering. This is not on not on the school. Well, it's on the school for hiring them. But really, I mean, are we talking about the recruit meal, I guess, that we saw? Yeah, it's a recruit. Like, I mean, he's not going to go there and get something fancy. Chicken tenders and a hot dog is perfect for like a 16-year-old recruit. As you said, boy dinner. I'm sure there was other stuff there.
Okay, here's the thing though. It was known, and I think this is a common thing at a lot of colleges, that catering tried harder on like prospective students day at Pitt.
Yep.
And this is what the football catering is doing on prospective students day.
Well, yeah, it's fancy. I mean, if you think about it, all cheeseburgers are already pre-wrapped. They're just wrapped in bread. We double wrapped them. These are like twice-baked cheeseburgers.
They're steamed because we accidentally let too much moisture get in before we wrap them.
They're gonna be so soggy. That bun is just gummy.
It's a cheeseburger that's been marinated in its own ugh.
Hire us for your marketing solutions.
Other Sickos Committee news. We may have a lead on the Sacred Cod Trophy. If you remember, the Sacred Cod Trophy was the three-way trophy between Boston College, Boston University, and the College of the Holy Cross. We sent a message to their athletics people, and someone wrote back saying they are a BU alum in addition to being in Holy Cross football SID, and they won't be back in the office till Monday, but they're going to dig into it and let us know.
So I replied back to that email. I said, let us know if you find it. And then also, could you please weigh it? Because we have a spreadsheet. And we need to update the spreadsheet. So
I haven't touched that one in so long.
So we need to update those weights.
That.
Yes, we gotta update those weights, and then just maybe make a graphic of all the weights eventually. It was just fun that they were excited that we emailed them about this. They're like, what a find. They said it was even cooler because went to one school and it was the other. I didn't have the heart to tell her that BU never won it.
Don't tell her that.
So I didn't want to let her know that while she's hunting.
Fuck are you guys? Don't tell her
I didn't
that.
tell her that. So, but
I will say when you told us you got this email, I literally was hooting and hollering in my chair. I was so excited.
yeah, I'm gonna start doing this more often now.
Yes.
Matt Brown has inspired us. Like, let's just ask. The worst thing that can happen is essentially they don't reply to the email, or they just put us in their spam folder, which we wouldn't know either way. And the best thing that can happen is they could locate a trophy that's been missing since 1961.
Yeah, and the worst case scenario is in fact being ignored, because if they do something like send us a cease and desist letter, we're framing
Yeah,
that.
I mean,
that is true.
guaranteed. If they stop emailing us about this crazy trophy, we're not looking for it.
Heck yeah, we'll print that out and put it on the fridge.
We'll sell it as a sticker.
Right next to the Pac-12 network.
Yeah,
We all live in a share house
in
together.
our company break room.
In Shreveport, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Did you guys see Holgo in the Noggin Boss hat?
Yes.
Yes.
Holgo in
Yes.
on the giant hat. That's got to be how he shows up to whatever casino. I said Bossier City, and someone was like, well, that's not the closest casino to Houston. He wouldn't go that far. He's going to Lake Charles. Okay, fine.
Is there a place there where he can gamble on a boat?
Lake Charles.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Okay.
Lake Charles is the better
Well,
choice.
it's like it's not like a boat, but it's in the water.
I
So
don't
there's-
think.
Go on.
let me just go over this weird Louisiana law
Raft
real
gambling.
quick. But I'll just say this. So, weird Louisiana law, when they voted for casinos in the state, and I believe the governor at the time was the infamous Edwin Edwards. The deal that the company made, Harrah's made, with New Orleans and Louisiana and the governors, like, they were going to be the only land-based casino in the state of Louisiana. Many of the casinos had to get inventive to join the casino ranks inside the state. There was a lot of riverboat casinos where they never left the dock. And then Harris complained, it was like, hey, they need to leave the dock. So basically what they would do is they would just like detach from the dock for like 20 minutes and then hook right back up from the dock to get around this law, which is classic Louisiana corruption. So in Lake Charles, it's not technically on land, I believe. It's on like pillars inside the water. So it's not I don't think it's a boat there, but it's not necessarily on land because of that weird law.
You are asking me to try to conceive of a reality where Dana Holgerson can tell me the difference between a boat and a thing that is on the water.
He's going to commandeer that thing.
He can't do that.
Let me have the steering wheel.
There we go.
I'm the captain now. Look at me.
The only reason I found this is because apparently somebody followed Coach Holgerson on Twitter, and he retweeted this from Houston Athletics. So I had no idea who is following so much stuff. We're up to like 500 some odd 550
I don't know.
followers now. It's ridiculous.
It's probably I get real loosey goosey with the follow.
Like follow this, follow that.
Hey, that's why we follow. Okay. First off, I gotta say it before they yell at me. Shout out to my favorite Faroe Islands soccer team, Klaksvik. They managed to beat the Hungarian champions in Hungary. They just drew the Swedish champions. Yeah, on the Faroe Islands. It's great. They're doing great. They follow us now. They don't quite understand what we're about, but I'm teaching them.
Do we?
No.
I know what they're about. So shout out to them. I think I've said it before. They were my first like COVID team when I was like dying for sports and the Faroe Islands Soccer League came back.
You were already a fan of them, which is amazing.
Yeah, and now just proud of them. So shout out to
I am going to post in the chat the name of the team they defeated from Hungary, and I would like all of us, starting with Jordan, to take a stab at it.
Oh God.
Oh, I got this.
Oh, it's like Ferencváros, something like that.
I don't know, for what it's worth. I don't.
He just setting us up to say stuff.
I think Beth knows, is why I put it in.
Ferencvárosi or something. I don't know. Sorry, Beth.
Fear and Croji.
See? And that's the correct answer.
Sorry, Beth got it right.
If you try hard and believe in yourself, everything is pronounced the way Pennsylvanians would pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Ferencvárosi. Sure.
I'm just proud of you for hitting Klaksvik.
So, Ferencvárosi, Iowa to the Rose Bowl.
Ayo.
Oh.
And other weird things that we found this week. We found a game called the Bean Bowl that was played in Scottsbluff, Nebraska at a high school stadium. And the interesting thing about this, it was played twice. It was not an official bowl game. Idaho State did play in this. And then there were no hot dogs served at this game, just bean soup.
I'm going to say something that's probably a little bit TMI here, but I don't know if you want to cut or not. Whatever. While what was going on for me Friday, yeah, I was asked like.
Oh, this was Friday that we were beans posting, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes. All right. Wow.
Join our Discord for bean posting.
That's right. There was a lot of bean references. It was crazy. The North Texas mean green beans.
Sorry, Casey.
While I was while that was going on, there was a conversation being struck up with the person performing that, and they wanted to know what I did for a living. But my normal job is it's boring. It came across that I had to discuss the committee, and started to talk about certain teams. And just the night before this occurring, we started to talk about the Bean Bowl. So this was the topic of conversation that I had during the procedure. So yeah, a lot of fun. I found out the night before that apparently there were some FCS teams that had won bowl games, and I was very curious. The Reddit FCS account indicated that Idaho State had won 2 bowl games. I was like, what bowl games have they won? I never heard of this. And then I stumbled across the 1949 Bean Bowl. Then I started to pull at the thread of the Bean Bowl. Of course, our favorite Twitter account, I believe it's Football Archaeology and Quirky Research. We're on this one, on the Bean Bowl. Basically, it was the Idaho State versus I don't even know how to say it yet, but it's like Shadron State or something like that.
Cadron State, I think.
I don't know how to say it, but they lost to the Idaho State Bengals by the score of 20-2. I mean, it's even a sicko score. They beat them up. It was a crowd of like 3,500, a game for the Kiwanis Youth Camp benefit. The program, amazing. I can only think of that old meme about that old gentleman, think about those beans. That's all I can think about. And then I think it was the Football Archaeology stated that there was no hot dogs served at the Bean Bowl game. Bean soup, not hot dogs, will be the featured snack at the Thanksgiving football game here Thursday between Idaho State and whatever Shadron. Well, I'm saying it wrong.
I think I found it. I think it's Shadron.
Shadron, okay. Close. State of Nebraska.
Sorry, Shadron.
Shadron, okay.
I want to apologize to the state of Nebraska. because I went and Googled your state thinking like, why would you put a bean thing in Nebraska? Because in my like very Pennsylvania brain, beans are very much a Southwest kind of a thing, not realizing that Nebraska is the #1 producer of dry beans in the United States and is in fact the #1 producer of Great Northern beans and the #2 producer of both pintos and light red kidney beans. So I'm very sorry, Nebraska. I did not realize how much you are about that bean life.
About it. I mean,
So you're
Nebraska
telling me that
constantly thinking
Nebraska's
about those
mascot
beans.
should consider it, they should be like
The bean soaker.
the
Yeah.
bean soakers.
Okay, I need to say that the email for the Nebraska Dry Bean Commission from Scottsbluff.
Oh, you're
by the way.
you're also on this website, I see.
The email-
compliance at beans.org.
The email is dryediblebeans at Nebraska.
Please make that the podcast title.
I'm gonna have to.
Dry edible beans at what?
Please direct all inquiries to dry edible beans.
We're just gonna put somebody's email address as the podcast title. Okay.
I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can do that. I don't want to fuck up their email account.
Everybody's gonna email. Hey man, what's up with all these beans?
I'm probably gonna. I'll have to bleep out whatever the
That'd
last
be
part of
great.
this is.
Like, hey guys, remember that time we got banned from the state of Nebraska?
We're totally banned from the rest.
Second time?
Second time.
I feel like the person who's manning that email account would just be delighted to get an email.
Maybe.
Or like,
Can we-
just tell me,
can we
are
invite
you
them
a
on-
producer or are you a consumer of beans? Like,
The last thing I want to mention for this week before we get into our second half is that someone posted highlights from Super Bowl 27 at the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
And we found a picture of Jack Nicholson wearing a pit hat, like an old script pit hat. And
This is
Kamish-
actually a picture of me. To be clear, this is me.
I mean, this should be your new
It's a very
this is-
nice hat.
This is your drill avatar. Like, you got to become pit drill.
Pit drill.
You're pit drill now.
Somebody, yeah, you create an
You
account.
say that like Spilly and pit basketball shouting don't already exist.
I want to put this up against the like Leonardo DiCaprio in a West Virginia hat pictures.
So,
It's
Kamish-
another way in which we're spiritually really the same when it comes right down to it.
So, Kamish, tell us why we think this exists.
Okay, so there's a couple of different things. First, how I discovered this, which was ridiculous on its own. So it's like 11 something at night. I'm having difficulty sleeping. So I'm just on the Twitter account, and apparently we follow somebody by the name of Old Time Football. And Old Time Football puts the highlights of Super Bowl 27. So Super Bowl 27 XXVII at the Rose Bowl. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this one. This is when the Cowboys like just beat the crap out of the Buffalo Bills, like 52-17 or something like that. And so in the beginning, it's Jimmy Johnson narrating this, and I'm like, really? They let Jimmy Johnson narrate this entire thing? And Jimmy Johnson's just talking a bunch of shit. He's like, yeah, I knew we were gonna kick their ass, and just back and forth. And so I'm watching it. I'm like, oh, the Bills took a 7-0 lead. I didn't remember that. So they were up 7-0 at one point, and then the Cowboys tied it 7-7, and then they shoot a crowd shot. About 6 minutes into the video, or 6-7 minutes into the video, I see Jack Nicholson wearing a pit hat. I pose the question, and then I get a bunch of replies like, hail to motherfucking Pitt, because he's Jack fucking Nicholson, and I'm like, okay, that those are great things, but I need to find the reason. I was like, okay, 1992 Pitt, were they good? No,
No.
No.
they were not.
No, they were
They
not.
were not. They were not good. They were not good at all. Very bad.
90s pit generally
90s
not
Pitt,
good.
very bad. Very bad. Not
Oh,
great.
come on. I love me some 90s.
That's
Pitt.
right. West Virginia.
Yeah, I'm
love.
sure you do.
Right. And this is where we got that Big East love. Like, we love the Big East. So then we go, and we're like, okay. Somebody mentions that Jack Nicholson was filming the movie Hoffa. Part of the movie Hoffa was shot in Pittsburgh, which, again, about a Teamster mob boss being shot in Pittsburgh. Okay, sure. Whatever. Maybe he got the hat there, and he just basically embraced the Pitt culture when he was in Pittsburgh. Also, there was, I believe, an offensive lineman for the Cowboys by the name of, I think it's Mark Stepnoski, was a Pitt alum. Also, I think the Bills had a Pitt alum on there. It's either that he got the hat while filming Hoffa, or he is a big fan of random offensive linemen. Whatever you want, just imagine original Rob Lowe NFL hat is Jack Nicholson at the Super Bowl wearing a Pitt script hat.
I do need people to open up the Discord chat real fast. I did drop a recipe from the Dry Bean Council. It's called bean nut butter.
It is what it is.
Jail.
That it,
Jail.
two
Dale?
cans of beans, 1 pound of cottage cheese, large curd,
Oh,
2 tablespoons mustard, 2 tablespoons chili sauce, whatever that means, quarter cup onion, quarter cup sweet relish, a cup of bacon, and
Cup of
a
bacon.
half
so much
teaspoon
bacon.
of pepper.
So
And you blend it all together.
so
It looks like hummus, but like jail hummus.
well, you got to for our Texan friends, we've got to remember that Nebraska is officially part of the Midwest now.
oh,
So, what chili sauce is that's ketchup because that's the sauce you put in chili.
It's also apparently, according to the Nebraska Dry Bean Commission Facebook page, is National Baked Beans Month, and they did sponsor the Open Bean Division at the Oregon Trail Days Chili Cook-Off.
Are you bold enough to bake all the beans?
There.
Are you a bad enough dude to bake these beans?
Oh, hold up, guys! I got a picture for you.
What kind
I'm
of beans are
dropping
you
it in the
baking?
chat.
Garbanzo.
Dropping this in the chat. This is from the same folks, the Nebraska Dry Bean
Oh.
Commission. It is an
Oh.
American flag made out of dry beans.
I stand for the flag, and if you don't like it, we don't care.
And I'm proud to be an American.
This page only has 663 followers, and that is a crime.
Not after this
You're about to
episode.
follow it, right? That's right. These
It's on Facebook, so
these beans don't run.
Definitely played Lee Greenwood twice today.
of course you did.
You just changed the drill image to Jack Nicholson wearing the pin hat. I could have saved it.
Can I derail the podcast very briefly so we
Go
can
for it.
appreciate off-brand Mexican Buc-ee's?
Oh yeah, bookies.
Buc-ee's.
I forgot about
Buck
that.
twos.
Throw that in there.
We can't not talk about off-brand Mexican Buc-ee's.
The best part is it's in Matamoros, which is right across from Brownsville. It's not like deep in Mexico. It is the border. I dropped it in the chat. Supermercado Buc-ee's. Shout
he
out!
looks like he looks like you ran into the door.
Yeah, shout out to whoever did the graphics for that because I love whoever did that.
He's beautiful.
So I
The neck looks like feet.
yes.
All of it looks like feet, to be honest.
This is a strip club. I know a strip club when I see one.
It's true, there are no windows.
Mm-hmm.
Suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been in Bucky's territory, so I've only heard of Bucky's, and I just assumed it was like because I've been to a Sheetz.
It's
So,
so much
I know.
bigger than Sheets.
So I was watching
This-
Jetlag the game, and one of the challenges was go to a Bucky's, and they pull in, and I'm just like, what?
Oh yeah, it's very much like, hey, this sheet's at a Sam's Club.
Yeah, I thought I was prepared to go to Buc-ee's by having been to Sheets. We went to one in North Georgia on the way back from the Peach Bowl in 2021. I was like, it's going to be like Sheets but bigger. It's so much bigger. It's like Sheets and a Kmart had a baby.
It's palatial.
It's insane. Yeah.
I went to Bucky's with a Sheets exec. That was an experience.
Oh, I bet.
What,
Fuck
market research?
Fucking like Alexander weeping because he knows that.
So it's the first Bucky's I've ever been in. I was in there for less than a half an hour before like the Sheets exec and the regional manager of Bucky's are like having this like incredibly insider trading conversation. I'm like, what alternate reality have I stumbled into? I'm gonna go back and look at shirts.
Polo shirts?
Grrr.
They do have an all size Bucky's onesies, and I'm thinking that all of us.
I would like to read the quote from Bucky's general counsel in the article about the off-brand Mexican
I can just
Buc-ee's.
assume because they're super fucking litigious. But go ahead.
We do love us a general counsel.
Quote, the Buc-ee's brand represents clean restrooms, freshly prepared food, and great service. Buc-ee's has invested heavily in innovation across the company to create and maintain these award-winning guest experiences. Accordingly, Buc-ee's will not stand as an idle spectator while others use, without permission, the intellectual property that Buc-ee's has cultivated for decades. I just love that they had to be like, you know what we're known for? Clean bathrooms.
I'm surprised they didn't say cheap ice because that's also the other thing they're very much known for. I just dropped the Bucky's onesies in the chat, guys, if you want to see what they look like on people.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's the.
Yeah.
I think I've just spotted the official uniform for SickoCon.
Mm-hmm.
In Idaho, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
Well, before we get into our next part, let's.
Yo, these guys are jazzed to be wearing these ones.
Oh, they are.
Especially kid with a cast.
Kid with I missed Kid with a cast.
I definitely missed the cast.
He's gonna have a hard time getting that sleeve off of that cast.
It looks like he had a hard time getting the sleeve onto the cast.
I want to say a couple things that we are going to promo before we get into our second half. First off, our Patreon is open as always for $5 a month. You get to come in and yell at us in Discord. You get to see all the pictures we drop during our podcast episodes, and you get to hear our special podcast episodes, including the second episode of Kamish's Corner, where Kamish talked about the four glorious ties of the 1991 Central Michigan team, where the coach seemed so exasperated it's hard to even describe.
I try to do my
It
best
was so good.
to describe how distraught he was throughout the quotes throughout the year. And if you remember the Patreon, you can listen to that. They're pretty short podcasts, like maybe like 15-20 minute episodes. I did one for 1988 Iowa. This one was 1991 Central Michigan, where they tied the record for most ties in a season, and they came dangerously close for setting the record with 5 ties. Fun to go over that. I have another one set up and probably have another episode later this week if you join the Patreon.
We also have at our store some new merch. Our Sickos Weather Service stickers are out, and shirts and mugs. So if you are a meteorologist and a Sickos fan, and there are a lot of you out there,
Yes.
we have merch for that now.
So
feel free to grab some.
They love our weather service stuff. They're like, it's very accurate.
Also, shout out to Message Board Geniuses podcast. They always go to the places that we refuse to go. They were talking about things such as Oregon wanting to be independent. Also, things like the food at Michigan. LSU fans absolutely dragging them, and Michigan fans saying that's why we're losing recruitment. So if you like that kind of thing and want to hear them talk about their geniuses of the week, go listen to the Message Board Geniuses podcast. They are amazing. Still up is the folks over at Transfer Portal and No Context Football have their season preview for 2023. For $10 American, you get a preview of all 133 FBS teams with interviews of players, and it's absolutely great. Kamish wrote a nice little intro for that. Also, we have a YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Just push play on the playlist. Walk away. It's fine. We need the hours.
Yeah. Look us up.
We also got the Substack. We have, coming up on that, we have previews of our FCS conferences. We'll have our Sickos Committee Weather, Travel, and Football Master Almanac Network, our SCWTFMAN. I have the logo almost ready, by the way, Kamish.
Awesome.
It looks like an absinthe bottle logo.
Perfect.
Yes.
It's going to be
Perfect.
great. And, it's going to be awesome. The formerly known as Colonial Athletic Association will be going out on Monday. It's now the Coastal Athletic Association. We got later on this week, I think on Wednesday I have it set. We have the Ivy League preview along with the OVC Big South Alliance in the FCS, which is weird. There's like conference alliances to get the automatic qualifying bids, so it's fun to go through this stuff.
Please enjoy this, our least FDA approved content.
We also have our promo code for Home Field Apparel. This week, Home Field Apparel announced that they are refreshing Michigan, Michigan State, and Ohio State. So if you're a Big Ten person from those 3 schools, you're absolutely set. And more importantly for us, guys, they finally got UTEP.
Woo!
Picks up.
Yeah.
Get on the express.
The preview already looks so good. Yeah. I'm so excited. I'm going to have to drop some cash on these shirts.
I'm so upset that I just did an order.
Oh, I just did an order too, and I'm going to be putting another one in on Tuesday because also there are dad hats.
Yeah.
And there are dad hats. The Tulane dad hat actually looks so good.
And the Pitt dad hat and the Slippery Rock Pimp Rock
the
dad
Slippery
hat.
Rock one.
God.
Pimp Rock dad hat is amazing.
If you see, I know, we went to New Mexico State and UTEP are like mortal enemies, but I love both of the schools. I just love them just hanging out there. I know they're pairs and they just hate each other with a passion, which is fantastic. But yeah, UTEP coming to home field, big thing. If you can't use our code either and you still want to help us out, please use the link that we tweet. That still helps us out no matter what you do if you purchase that. So we appreciate it. If you see the link that we tweet, that helps us out. And helps us bring you more content that you love here.
Promo code, by the way, is yes, ha, 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 yes. That's 3 ha's for 15% off your first purchase at Home Field Apparel.
At 15% off. You sounded like you said 50, but 15. 15. We wish it was 50 off. Jeez.
But like he said, if you've already ordered before, use our link that we post, and that gives us a little bit of cash too. And now we're on to part 37 of 41 for our best season of all time for teams who are below 500 all time. Satwept 500 at. Y'all, we're going to Manhattan, Kansas.
That's right.
And we're going to talk about such an interesting season and a coach that only coached there for 1 year and had crossover with another episode we've done.
Yeah, there was a lot of connections here. I do want to give a shout out to 1910 Kansas State. They finished 10-1. I want to give a shout out to 1999 Kansas State, 11-2, but they ended on 2 bummer losses. basically in Bill Snyder in Bill Snyder in K-State history, you could almost single out the entire era. It's legendary, it's ridiculous, and we love him, and it's very tough. It was very tough to just pick like a Bill Snyder season. I came close to picking 1997 K-State. They were 11-1. They were the Fiesta Bowl champions. But their one loss was to Nebraska by 30. And so, I didn't go with that one. I went with one that was basically before the time they went into like the wilderness, before Bill Snyder came to save them. I picked 1934 Kansas State. This team, they finished 7-1. They won the Big Six Conference. It really kind of sticks out to me the most because that is their last conference title until 2003. They went 69 years, not nice, between conference titles, 1934 and 2003.
Woof, the greatest depression.
Yes.
I mean, there are only 3 Kansas State coaches that have ever won conference championships.
That's right. And this is one in his only season with Kansas State. So from 1935 to 1992, in the 57 years of this wilderness I'm describing, they only had 4 winning seasons and 2 500 seasons. Basically, 1 in 10 years, you could hope for them to either be 500 or have a winning season of like 6-5. I think their best mark in that wilderness time frame was like 7-3-1.
Jesus.
So, yes, this is why they're on the list. If Bill Snyder was there the entire time, yeah, they probably wouldn't be on our list. And that's why it's so hard for me to pick a Bill Snyder era team, because basically he resurrected the entire program. This is why I went with 1934. From 1928 to 1933, the Wildcats were led by Bo McMillan, who coached the team the 6 successful seasons, including an 8-2 season in 1931 that nearly earned Kansas State a Rose Bowl berth. But in 1934, he left to coach at Indiana University, and he would ultimately lead the Hoosiers to their only outright conference title, and he was inducted to the College Football Hall of Fame in 1951. You may remember him from the beginning of our series. He was the coach of the 1945 Indiana Hoosiers. So we reviewed them in, I believe, our second episode.
It was very
the BSO AT FT WAB 500 AT. Previously, I think the first one was New Mexico State. The second one was Hoosier Autumn, and that was 1945 Indiana. They were looking for a coach to take over in Manhattan. Athletic director Mike Ahern turned to the day's hottest young prospect, known by the name of Lynn Pappy Waldorf.
Yeah, Pappy.
That's right. I'm going to say Pappy a lot. I'm going to say Pappy so fucking much right now.
Hottest young prospect.
That's right.
Pappy.
Pappy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's right. He was lured.
He was quite a good-looking young man.
Pappy was very snappy. He was lured away from Oklahoma A&M, now known as Oklahoma State, where he'd gone 34-10-7 and brought 3 Missouri Valley Conference titles to Stillwater, while never losing to in-state rival Oklahoma.
Whoa, it's almost like
shit.
anything can happen in Bedlam.
At this time, yes.
Beat me to it.
Yeah, that's right. He had a winning record against Oklahoma in his years there. So Pappy was a tackle for Syracuse from 1922 to 24. The 250-pound Waldorf had been an All-American tackle at Syracuse University and was the largest member of its varsity rowing crew. I tried to get a picture of him rowing, but I think it's like the Onondaga or whatever for Syracuse I could only find the 1922 season of him, and I couldn't find him on the rowing team in a picture in the yearbook. So I have a picture of Pappy towards the end of his career in the 1950s as a Cal head coach. The picture right next to him, right there, that is Pappy Waldorf. He was the coach. That the photo in the yearbook there, the royal purple yearbook of Kansas State. I did find his picture with the football team on Syracuse. You can kind of see him. He's on the front row, bottom right, second to right, I believe. Okay. You can kind of see his face there.
He's like 250. I don't think he's 250 there.
So, but then look at the picture right next to you. So
Maybe he's tall?
At the time, right?
They actually didn't know how to weigh things yet. They described something like, this is probably 250 pounds. And the
scale didn't go up that high.
It just did the spinning thing over and over again. At the time in the yearbook, in 1922, he was known as Wally Waldorf. and he was a sensation at tackle. He was usually the first man through the line of opposition. After his playing days in 1925, Pappy was hired as athletic director at Oklahoma City University, which is affiliated with the United Methodist Church. He was able to get a job through his father, a Methodist bishop. Waldorf became the head coach for football, basketball, and track teams. He was paid $4,000 per year. Apparently, that was a substantial salary for that time. 3 jobs. Okay. As a coach, Waldorf emphasized the fundamentals of blocking and tackling, as well as each player's involvement in practice. In his 3 years as the head coach, he was able to turn the 1-win and 7-loss Oklahoma City Gold Bugs into an 8-win, 1-loss, 2-tie, and shared the Collegiate Conference Championship. As an athletic director and administrator, Waldorf was successful in funding and constructing sports facilities, as well as generating new income through scheduling games against powerhouse opponents. He left Oklahoma City in 1927 after leaving the Gold Bugs. He served 1 year as an assistant coach at the University of Kansas, and then he was lured away by Oklahoma A&M a year after. His practice sessions were efficient, focusing on the fundamentals of blocking, tackling, and exploding off the line of scrimmage. He developed personal relationships with each player. He knew their names after the first practice. I don't know why Oklahoma State put this in there, but I put that in here too. I guess that was a thing.
Guys, bad news. The Oklahoma City University has renamed themselves from the Gold Bugs to the Stars.
Oh, no more Gold Bugs.
I would also like it to be known that $4,000 in 1925 is only $70K in 2023 money, which is not nothing, but like for 3 jobs.
3 jobs, that's a lot.
As somebody who I worked for the United Methodist Church, them paying you almost nothing to do 3 jobs tracks.
He taught a coaching course, and he shared encouragement and humor. Like, I don't. Pappy's telling you jokes while you're practicing.
Everything I saw about him, the way they talk about coaches back in the day, like he was professor of football.
Yeah.
And when he ends up getting hired away, he gets hired away as professor of football.
Yeah. In return, he expected commitment, hard work, and discipline from his players. Pappy was the coach for Oklahoma State, and he matched their longest winning streak in Bedlam. If you don't remember, Oklahoma leads this series 91-19-7.
Competitive rivalry.
Yes. Pappy was 2-0-1 against the Sooners. He never lost. Pappy ain't never lost to Oklahoma.
It's crazy.
In 1931, in order to deal with the significant financial difficulties brought on by the Great Depression, Waldorf took on responsibilities of the university's athletic director. Previously, Pappy had already brought administrative changes, such as an installation of stadium lights to play night games, as well as holding some games on Fridays. Following 1931, Oklahoma A&M could not maintain his salary and had to decrease it due to the factors of the Great Depression. In 1934, Waldorf left the university to become the new head coach of Kansas State. He brought an assistant coach with him, a former Iowa player and Oklahoma City head coach, Wesley Fry. Along with Fry, track coach Ward Haylett and future basketball coach Owen Chili Cochrane made up the rest of Waldorf's star-studded staff. There's a picture of him right there.
Chili Cochran's an all-time name. We got to give credit to it.
Right.
Yeah.
It would have been great if he was like 3-alarm Chili Cochran or something like that. So, Pappy favored a methodical style of football that stressed the fundamentals. But this was not immediately popular in Manhattan, Kansas. I guess fundamentals were just too boring for the Kansas State fans. They wanted flashy Wildcat football.
What the fuck was flashy football in 1934?
Passing.
I guess.
I don't know. But in the newspapers, if you go back in this time, like there was it like the razzmatazz, or like they would just say like they doing this.
We should start saying razzmatazz more again, guys.
I mean,
Beware, fellows, we have invented student body right.
Student body, hold on. Student body left too. But yes, that's Pappy, the head coach. Let me give you some players of note on this 1934 Kansas State team. The 1934 team was loaded with all-conference talent. Leading the pack was Captain George Maddox, who would become only the second player in school history to be named a first-team All-American by the Associated Press. Along with this accolade, Maddox earned a slightly more dubious distinction. He was featured on a box of Wheaties in 1935. The picture of that is at the bottom of the stock. So if you want to go scroll down for that.
Okay.
Maddox would go on to play for Curly Lambeau's Green Bay Packers. Other stalwarts on the team included halfback Orrin Stoner, who was a consensus conference pick, and running guard Gene Sundgren, who received an honorable mention in the AP All-American. Stoner would go on to be a longtime football coach at Field Kinley High School in Coffeyville, Kansas. Sundgren became a successful cattle rancher and ultimately the president of the Kansas Livestock Association. We're going to go to the schedule. Here's the link to the Royal Purple. It's the yearbook, and it starts at page 186. It should send you right there. Kansas State opened the season with a 13-0 win over the Fort Hays Teachers College. There you can see Larry Red Elder scores against Hays Teachers. I love the incredible referees just being in all white. Like,
Yeah, the old look back in the day. Yeah.
there's no stripes or anything like that, just all white. I actually was able to find that one of the Fort Hays Teachers players was his name was Cocky Sexton, and apparently that was their only threat. So Cocky Sexton was the only threat for Fort Hays Teachers, and he didn't score.
Don't be a nickname. Don't be a nickname. Don't be a nickname.
Pit Girl, are you okay? It looked like you were dying. You're muted.
No, I just said you're kidding.
Nope. It's
Cocky Hays.
Cocky
Next thing we know, we're going to find out he's from Blue Ball.
could be. I don't know if you want to search the name Cocky Sexton.
I was going to say, I'm about to do the world's most risky Google search one, so.
K-State kind of dominated this game. They had 17 first downs. They rushed the ball for 252 yards. Fort Hays only had 65. Nobody really fumbled the ball or anything like that. A good win for the Pappy Waldorf era. The next game, the boys from Manhattan, Kansas, went to New York to play the boys at Manhattan College. Love
Concrete jungle, wet dream tomato.
Hey, folks. Talbert Cocky Sexton.
No, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong one.
Oh,
This
damn.
There was another Cocky Sexton.
There's
We're looking
multiple
we're
Cocky
looking for
Sextons.
Floyd. We need Floyd Williams Sexton.
Oh.
So there are. Why are there two Cocky Sextons?
I don't know, but I found the first one first, but that wasn't him. No, yeah, there's two Cocky Sexton.
Look,
The
Will
cocky
the real
sex-
Cocky
the cocky
Sexton
Sexton?
please stand up?
There's probably a third that was in the running for the rename of the South Carolina mascot last
Right.
year, but
So they went to Manhattan, and they played the game at Ebbets Field in Brooklyn.
That's,
So they played
Neutral site,
against
I think.
Manhattan in Brooklyn, which was
the Giants played there. I
Yes.
think.
yes.
That was a baseball.
That's right.
field.
It was a baseball field, which, the picture in the yearbook just says that muddy Manhattan game. And if you could look at a picture from 1936 to tell you how muddy it was, my God,
Jesus
how muddy.
Christ.
They're just covered in mud. And
Yeah, it makes Heinz Field in November look good.
That's also a hell of a trip for the 40s, Kansas State to Manhattan, just
Yeah.
for. And can I maybe suggest that this is just for a bit? Like, is this the Miami versus Miami game of the time?
Manhattan versus Manhattan. Yep.
the little apple goes to the big apple. Sure, we can say that.
Attempting to Amtrak this. Please hold.
I want to believe that this was something like they thought they had scheduled a home game and didn't realize until the last second, like, oh no.
K-State and Manhattan battled to a 13-13 deadlock in an exciting intersectional mud contest at Ebbets Field in Brooklyn, New York. A rain which began the day before and continued through the first half of the game made good football impossible. And the afternoon developed into a melee of fumbles and block kicks. Warren scored for Kansas State early in the first quarter, but Manhattan even matters soon after in the second period. And then a few minutes later, they took the lead 13-7 after blocking a punt. Kansas State tied the score in the third quarter, but could only advance the ball to the Manhattan 3-yard line during the rest of the game. First down in yards gained from scrimmage favored the Wildcats. So it was a tie, but it was a mud bowl. And if you look at the back, the ref, like the bottom half, covered in mud.
Oh yeah, this is like Meanwhile in Passchendaele.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I love his hat too, like the ref hat. The next game, they play their first ever night game, and they're playing the Marquette's the nickname at the time was called the Hilltoppers.
What?
Yes,
Okay.
that's right. I don't know if there's another Marquette Hilltopper because I tried to look it up, and I believe this is the one based out of Wisconsin.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know if there's another Marquette. There may be a Marquette, Michigan, but but that's like in the Upper Peninsula. I couldn't figure out which Marquette this was. I'm assuming it's the one that we know that plays basketball now in the Big East.
Oh, Marquette, you had a cool name for a while.
Yeah, there were the Marquette.
No, they were the Golden Avalanche at this point.
Yeah. Were they?
In the yearbook,
Yes.
it says they
Okay.
were the Hilltoppers, but
Oh, weird. Okay.
it's strange. But Kansas State's first ever night
Oh,
game.
So the football team was known as the Golden Avalanche through 1960. Other teams that they had were known as the Warriors, the Blue and Gold, or the Hilltoppers.
Wow. So many
Okay,
nicknames.
we're just not choosing. Okay.
All right, Marquette, and then they finally settled on the Golden Eagles. Come on, you had so many other choices, Marquette. Come on now. They were down 27-0 in the first half to this one, and then
Wait,
Kansas
Kansas State was down?
Yes, Kansas State down
Oh,
27-0. But the Wildcats basically was cramped, making again a lot of fumbles, which may be a theme throughout the season, that led to touchdowns for the Hilltoppers, which it said in the yearbook. The first Kansas State score came by a result of a 56-yard run by Armstrong, who later scored the second counter, and then Elder scored another one. They had a furious rally, but they fell short, so they lost the game 27-20 after spotting Marquette 27 points in the first half. They have fell to 2-2-1 at this time. They're 2-2-1. They're 1-1-1. I apologize for that.
at 1-1-1. Yep.
The next game is the Sunflower Showdown. It is Kansas versus Kansas State. So back in the time, this is a huge game. You can see the picture there, the action in the Jayhawk Wildcat battle. I'm going to give a shout out to the SB Nation blog, Bring On the Cats. They wrote a pretty good article about this in 2014. I borrowed a lot from it. So the fans were understandably nervous about the homecoming game against Kansas, and a smaller than expected crowd of about 11,000 attended the game. School officials were disappointed by the turnout and blamed radio broadcasting for the lower turnout. So they didn't blame the students this time. They said that fancy radio is keeping folks at home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we didn't broadcast it in HD radio, kids would get off the couch and come to the game.
The SB Nation blog says the game itself was nearly as disappointing as the poor attendance. I completely disagree with the statement. Kansas State fumbled the ball 8 times.
Jesus Christ.
Oh no.
Including 4 times inside their own 20.
Oh no.
Another late fumble, this time deep in Kansas territory, cost the Wildcats a sheer touchdown. But the defense was stout that day, and the Jayhawks never managed to get on the board. So think about this. They fumbled the ball 4 times inside their own 20, and they still stopped Kansas from scoring at all.
This is the, would you like the ball? No, I couldn't possibly, of games.
The Jayhawks' only sustained drive of the game ended when Kansas quarterback Bob White threw an interception that Maurice Red Elder, I think I said his name wrong, it's actually Maurice Red Elder, a fullback who played both ways, ran back 70 yards with the help of excellent blocking for a 7-0 lead early in the second half. Led by Maurice Red Elder and Leo Ayers, flashy Kansas State sophomore backs, the Wildcats beat their arch rivals from Lawrence 13-0, at the same time broke a jinx of 8 years standing. This victory being the first that either of the teams has won at home in that length of time. It was a second half awakening of the Wildcats that sent the Jayhawks feathers flying. The first score came when the Kansas back passed into the hands of Elder, who ran 75 yards behind perfect interference for a touchdown. Stoner's kick for point was good early in the fourth. Kansas State took the ball on their own 40-yard line, and in 8 plays, Ayers scored from the 11. A fumble cost the Wildcats another counter just before the end of the game.
Damn it.
They 8 fumbles. So it was one of the sloppiest contests in the series, and Pappy Waldorf would go on to say, this was the only game that 8 fumbles couldn't lose.
That's some Steve Spurrier shit.
Yes!
The 8 straight years of the visiting team winning is another
Incorrect?
record that's worth looking into.
It just,
Yeah.
it's I don't know. It's just a crazy series, the Sunflower Showdown. After the game, there was some craziness that happened. So if the crowd had been less than enthusiastic before the game, they more than made up for it afterwards. Soon after the game, a rumor began to spread that classes were going to be canceled on Monday in celebration. The school authorities made it very clear that this was not true and that this Monday holiday was entirely illegal. Undeterred, groups of students formed pickets to block various entrances all over campus
A
on Monday.
wildcat strike.
A literal wildcat strike. And effectively prevented students from attending classes. This horizontal strike, this wildcat strike, which included street dancing on the corner of 15th and Laramie and protest marches on points, finally wound down when a not entirely disapproving Mike Ahern turned the crowds away at the Wareham Opera and told the students to go back to class. Not all students were in favor of the Monday holiday. The Collegian Sports Eye, Dan Partner, was fairly disgusted by the whole idea.
Someone's always a fucking buzzkill in this.
What are you doing, Dan? You going to class, scab?
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Scabby the Rat showing up.
He wrote,
Whatever Scabby the Rat looked in 34. It was just a bunch of it's a costume of 400 rat carcasses.
so he wrote this, that Kansas State beats Kansas 13-0, and there is no school on Monday. Why the high compliment to KU? It's going to be a habit at Kansas State, and such a celebration seems unnecessary. If it's a one-day holiday for beating an ordinary opponent, what'll it be if Nebraska is licked?
And what happened the next 70 years of Kansas State football? Fucking celebrate your wins, because you might have 70 years of losses.
Mhm.
Yes.
This also has very, like, unrivaled energy, and I hate that.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what Dan Partner was thinking when it was like 1970. It was like in Kansas State has only had like 4 winning seasons since 1934. I wonder what he's thinking.
I feel like he would have grown up to be like the guy who posted an op-ed, the Pitt News alumnus who posted an op-ed after Pitt lost to Penn State 51-6 in 2018. That was like, we should drop to D3. Football is over.
I'm imagining him like the dude in the Twilight Zone who broke his glasses and is like, no, but there was time.
Mm-hmm.
Next week after this, they went to play Tulsa. And guess what? They just kept fumbling. They lost to Tulsa 21-0. Fumbles were the downfall of the Wildcats when the Golden Hurricanes of Tulsa University scored 3 touchdown victory before 12,000 homecoming spectators in Skelly Field. The men of Gloomy Gus Henderson scored in each of the first 3 quarters.
Beautiful.
That's right. The head coach's nickname was Gloomy Gus. And we're nearing the goal line when the game ended. The victory was featured by spectacular running by smart field headwork. Barry and Dennis starred for Tulsa, while Stoner aided the Wildcats with spectacular kicking. Every newspaper article I could find, I was trying to figure out how many times Kansas State fumbled. I could not get the fumble amount. So it said Kansas State was troubled with the fumbling malady, right? Malady.
Malady.
Cap.
Sir.
Malady.
The fumbling
The
malady.
fumbling
That's
malady.
That's up there with mobile.
Okay. All right, malady. I've never heard that word. Said out loud.
No, it happens. Like, there's so many times I've come across same thing. No, I get that.
Okay. I've never,
Yeah, he's a real pronunciation chameleon.
malady. Malady? That doesn't make sense.
Come, my
Okay,
lady.
whatever.
Come, my lady.
It's malady. It's malady.
Sugar, baby.
Oh no.
Come, a pretty lady.
Be careful. You don't want to get us like content blocked. But saying
Butterfly in her eyes, and then
Okay.
no, whatever.
it's vexed the purple followers. Thus far this season, the Wildcat offense in other games this season made sturdy comebacks in the final half, failed to get underway effectively. So I found a box score, and it only looked like they lost 2 fumbles, but that doesn't seem right if they just keep saying it was just fumbles everywhere. They lost 21-0. They fell to 2-1. They took on rival Washburn next. Kansas State 14, Washburn 6. One of the oldest rivalries in history of Kansas State was revived after a lapse of 3 years when the Wildcats met the Washburn Ichabods in a night game at Topeka. The game started as a rout for the Wildcats, the first score coming early in the first quarter, but throughout the rest of the game, Kansas State could only push over one more counter. Although they carried the ball all over the field, despite the loss of Griffin, regular center, the Wildcat offense clicked merrily, and with Oren Stoner as the chief ball carrier, Kansas State looked like champions, which they won 14-6. I couldn't find too much newspaper action for this one. So we'll go on to the next game. On to Mizzou. And here's a picture in the yearbook. It says, action in the Missouri game. With bands from various Kansas high schools as guests in gay array, Kansas State overwhelmed the Tigers from Missouri 29-0. While the score indicates a big advantage for the Wildcats, the summary shows the thoroughness with which the men of Coach Waldorf whipped the Tiger. Kansas State made 21 first downs to 3 for Mizzou and traveled 452 net yards from scrimmage as compared to 63 for the word, I'm not going to say it right because I'm just going to call it Malady again.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, the Caridaman? Sure. whatever. Led by Leo Ayers, fleet sophomore quarterback, the Wildcats carried the ball from one end of the field to the other and kept Missouri's goal line in constant danger. So they won that one 29-0. Moving on to the next game. They faced those pesky Oklahoma Sooners that Pappy Waldorf has never lost to the Oklahoma Sooners.
Never lost.
I ain't never lost to the Sooners. My name is Pappy. So the yearbook said, a single point, one of the two awarded as a result of a safety in the second period, provided the margin of victory for the Wildcats over the Oklahoma Sooners in their annual battle for gridiron supremacy. It was Red Elder, big sophomore fullback, that bore the brunt of the attack with his ball carrying, combined with the brilliant work of the Kansas State line, proved too much for the men of Lewis Hardage. The Sooners scored first early in the second period, and the halftime score read 7-2, with the Wildcats awarded a safety when Gentry's Sooner tackle was tackled behind his own goal line when attempting to kick. Armstrong made the Kansas State touchdown around right end in the third period, and they won the game 8-7.
I am so happy to see that the idea that you can't describe a fullback without saying that they are big goes back to at least the 30s. That has bothered me on broadcasts for years of like, you can't just say it's a fullback. Nope, it's a big fullback. Like, no, it's not the small puny fullback, it's the big one.
I do like the idea of like a teacup fullback.
A miniature fullback. Like,
someone can put in your purse.
Can we just get like Kansas State's Darren Sproles as a fullback? Is that what you want?
It's travel sized for your convenience.
That's right. Can't be more than...
I do want to say about the Tulsa game, the Manhattan Mercury newspaper has a great headline: Hurricane Too Stiff a Breeze.
Up next, the Wildcats face the Iowa State Cyclones, displaying a passing attack that Iowa State could do nothing about. The Wildcats cleared the last hurdle in their way to meet Nebraska for the conference championship. A long heave from halfback Stoner to N. Freeland resulted in a touchdown. Another pass, Stoner to Churchill, placed the ball on the 1-yard line where Elder plunged it over for the second score. Wildcat reserves made the third touchdown against the Wind after a long, sustained drive. And then here's...
You keep saying Stoner, and I keep laughing.
I know, it's funny. His name is Orrin Stoner. So if you look at the picture here, the referee has like mismatched shirts. So this is the first one that I see. The ref, he has a striped top, but then all white pants.
I think this was right around the time they started standardizing
this. I wanted to appreciate that.
It looks like what I would wear to the club.
White pants to the club, huh?
White pants to the club. So
that is a bold move.
I want to set this up for you. Nebraska.
The Iowa State helmets just all look like they're wearing headbands.
Yeah, they really do.
Oh, it's weird.
That's a good look.
That is the first striped ref shirt we've seen, because looking back at the other ones, there's
someone has explained to me when they started adding stripes to shirt, and I can't remember what it was. It was probably football archaeology, because they explained everything to me.
I want to set this game up for you. It's the final game of the season. Nebraska's undefeated in the Big Six. Kansas State undefeated in the Big Six. So this one is for all the marbles. Kansas State is 6-2-1. At the time, Nebraska is 6-2. So this is basically for it. Nebraska had been the Big Six champions for 3 straight years, 31, 32, and 33. And so it's all coming down to this last game of the season. Everything riding, and Pappy Waldorf is very confident here. On the road in Lincoln, Nebraska. So it's not even a home game. The yearbook goes on to say, after wearing the Big Six crown for 3 years, the Nebraska Cornhuckers. Oh, Jesus Christ. The Nebraska Cornhuckers.
The Cornhuckers.
Yes!
The bean soakers, actually.
The Nebraska bean soakers met defeat at the fight insist bunch of Wildcats that ever wore the purple of Kansas State.
Emaw.
I love Kevin's wearing the Emaw shirt in honor of this episode. Led by Orrin Stoner, Wildcat triple threat star playing his last game of intercollegiate football. The men of, it says Lynn Waldorf, but the men of Pappy Waldorf beat the champions 19-7 before a Thanksgiving Day crowd of 22,000 fans in Lincoln Memorial Stadium. The game started as a walkaway for the Cornhuskers, Fans wondered how Kansas State had beaten 4 other conference teams and why they were rated even with Nebraska. For the Huskers went up and down the field at will, opening large, jagged holes at their backs and had little trouble going through. But despite this, they only scored 1 touchdown. The second half, the 22,000 saw a beaten Kansas State team turn into a purple powerhouse. The jagged holes began appearing in the Husker line, and as a result...
There's lots of jagged holes in this game.
We're talking about jagged holes. We're talking about jagged little pills. We're talking about jagged edge and where the party at. And as a result,
Now keep going.
Elder scored the first Wildcat touchdown standing up from the 9-yard line. Later in the fourth quarter, Orrin Stoner skirted left end for the second score. And still later, only a few minutes, the same Stoner skirted the same end for another touchdown. Kansas State 19, and Nebraska still had her stadium.
So this does beg the question. We need to ask. What was the guy's name? We need to ask Dan Partner. What does happen when Nebraska gets licked?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Important question.
Jordan has some of that information.
Kamish asked me to see if I could find whatever the aftermath was of this game. The interesting things about it were, first off, it turns out that to watch this game, they had the Tello grid. And they did this a couple times at Kansas State, where for 25 cents, you'd go into the auditorium and you just get telegrams coming in. They would run telegrams to the local telegraph office, and they just run it and announce it in the auditorium.
Analog Twitter?
Yes. Newspapers were Facebook, and this was analog Twitter. What ended up happening was apparently Kansas State fans started to rush the field in Nebraska.
Oh.
And they kept them off the field, but then they went to a place called, let me find it here. It was called the Cornhusker Hotel. Hotel Cornhusker, my bad. I'm going to drop a picture.
Welcome to...
Yeah, I'm going to drop a picture. It's a lovely place. You can check in, but you can never leave. In the chat is Hotel Cornhusker. And apparently Kansas State fans went back to Hotel Cornhusker and started things. I'll quote here. A large number of Kansas State alumni evidently attended the game, in addition to those who went on the train from Manhattan, according to those who were in Lincoln yesterday. The Wildcat supporters jumped up everywhere in Nebraska sections as well as their own when the touchdown that tied and won the game were chalked up. An impromptu pep meeting was held at the Hotel Cornhusker after the game, and there were minor celebrations everywhere, according to those who saw the game, but there was no rough stuff anywhere.
So they didn't start stacking barrels of gunpowder on their own field like Iowa State did?
They didn't do that, no.
I guess they're not really living it up at the Hotel Cornhusker then.
The Hotel Bean Soaker. Sounds more sinister.
And when they got back home on the train, there were about 3,000 people there waiting for them in Manhattan. A quote here. An excited, happy crowd estimated at 3,000, including men, women, and children, just like Anakin Skywalker's crowd, turned out to welcome Kansas State's first Big Six champion. I can never see that without hearing the women and the children. Kansas State's first Big Six championship football team back to Manhattan last night with an enthusiasm that melted the driving snow and chased away the shadows of the near midnight hour. Even a stray gray kitten was there, mewing a lusty welcome for the heroes.
That's the Kansas State Wildcat. There she is.
Football cat! Football cat!
Cars packed streets for several blocks around Union Pacific Station, and the crowd filled the station and the brick platform around it, overflowing onto the tracks. Excited boys raced along the tops of boxcars standing beside the tracks as they heard the train approaching. Also, was a victory present for Mr. Aaron, who's the athletic director at Kansas State, who celebrated his 56th birthday. Also, Mrs. Waldorf said she was happy. Never more thrilled in my life.
Never more thrilled. Pappy finally put the thrill in his wife. So, after beating Nebraska. So
it was a clean, hard game, Mr. Aaron said, the AD said last night, adding he was glad to see the team had won on straight football after attempts to pass the ball had been futile.
So we were right. That's what they mean by flashing.
None of that
football.
fancy shit.
we're going to get back to hard-nosed football. That was there.
So surely, Kamish, this started a renaissance of Kansas State football.
Yeah, no. Pappy actually left the year after this, which you can see.
And where did he go to?
He went to Northwestern.
Wildcats.
Pappy Waldorf went to Northwestern, and he previously held the Northwestern all-time wins until it was taken over by that coach that just got fired.
It's just purple cats all the way down.
That's right.
I believe Pappy has it might not be exactly right, but I think he's something along the lines of the highest winning percentage
Northwestern
of
history.
any Northwestern head
Yeah.
coach.
I think he has the highest percentage. Yeah.
I believe he does, besides no coach. But, I really
Respect no coach.
respect no coach, which we're trying to compile that, by the way. Like, if we can find all the records of no coach for everybody's team. Pappy left. He went to Northwestern. Basically, they hired him for 1 year, and he got the Big Six title, and then he went to Northwestern. One of his assistant coaches took over. I believe it was Fry that took over. And he led them to, respectability, but then he left after, 3 years, and then that's when they entered the wilderness. Like, he had 2 somewhat successful seasons above 500, and then the K-State wilderness just took place after that, which was really just 20 years of wilderness, and then they had a random pop-up of 2 years about 7-3-1, and then just nothing until Bill Snyder took him over in 89. An amazing history here, and then I have the pictures down there. You can see the team, the 1934 team, the Big Six champions. You see the Kansas State tackle, George Maddox, on the Wheaties box. This is not a Wheaties box that I expected. And I love seeing on the Wheaties box itself, it says ready to eat. You had to prepare the Wheaties.
I guess because at that point cereal was oatmeal and shit, so
Yeah.
cream of wheat, so you had to prep it.
You had to prep stuff. So this one was just pour it in a bowl and put some milk on it.
Wheaties reminds you that the breakfast of champions is Wheaties with plenty of milk or cream and some kind of fruit.
Don't care. Put cream and tomato.
It's just heavy cream, tomato, and Wheaties.
Wheaties gazpacho.
So
Kimish, I love the images you got of the individual football players that look like paper dolls.
yeah, the yearbook had them all set up in there like that, and I just copied and pasted every single player on there.
So good.
And it looks like they just copied and pasted in the yearbook. One thing that I believe
Before we get there, before we go through the individual players there, I'm looking at this team photo, and the person front left in it, reading the names, they don't have first names on this, but front left, first row, last name is Partner. So do you think that's our man Dan Partner?
Oh.
Oh, I don't know. Huh.
Evil.
Complaining about celebrating beating Kansas was
Oh.
the first ever recorded instance of all this motivational tactic nonsense that people making up media members who think that Georgia's going to lose 5 games or whatever.
they're going 75.
Complaining about beating Kansas was an inside job.
Or is this one of
Yes,
those
exactly.
situations where, when is it going to be Dan's turn? Because right now everything goes to Dan's shithead brother. When is Dan's day?
Yeah, so this is like Louis Partner here, and Dan's just insanely jealous.
Yeah.
He's just Dan.
I do
Respect.
want to say one more thing about Pappy leaving. He made it very clear it was just sort of this is just a better job, which again, thinking the Northwestern job is a step up, but back then it definitely was. And he did get about $8,000 at Northwestern compared to $5,000 at Kansas State.
Line go up.
That's some big money
Line
for
go
Pappy.
up.
His assistant, by the way, that took over was Wesley L. Fry, nicknamed Plowboy.
Plowboy Fry?
Yeah, Plowboy Fry. And so apparently he was going to go to Northwestern too, but something stopped him. And it was because the Big Ten said that your coach can't have played professional football.
That's so Big Ten.
And
That's the
Fry-
most Big Ten shit I've ever heard.
and Fry played professional football. And so he was not allowed to coach the Big Ten.
And I know where that was because I looked him up earlier to make sure he wasn't related to Hayden Fry, because I did see somewhere in there that he also eventually went to Iowa, and I was like, is there a connection there? And there is not. They're not related. But
And of course, by the way, Pappy Fry definitely said a week before he took the Northwestern job that he loved Manhattan and wanted to retire there. Because everyone says that.
Yeah, after a year. I'm leaving after a year, but I really wanted to retire here.
He said he likes Manhattan better than any other town in which he's lived. At the football banquet, and since then, Waldorf has stuck firmly to this statement and has no plans to move. Last night, he said he made no plans other than to stay here until late last week after he had a phone call conversation with Tug Wilson, the athletic director at Northwestern. He got
I'm going to
tugged.
stay here forever until someone asks me to leave.
So there was a gift that was supposedly given to the players that won the Big Six championship. They were supposed to get some gold footballs.
Yes.
The gold footballs for the letterman of the championship team will be proposed to the athletic council by Director Ahern He said last night, Secretary Harry Bach promised the biggest party Manhattan has ever put on when the Chamber of Commerce stages its annual football banquet December 11th for members of the high school and college teams. Shucks, yeah, said ML Red Elder. What is it? Shit, yeah. But just like what is
Shucks.
Shucks.
Garsh.
Garsh.
Woo!
But one of the many heroes of the game, when asked last night if he got a thrill from it, Coach Lynn Pappy Waldorf faced wreath and smiles, commented he'd never seen a prettier play than Elder's 9-yard run for a touchdown standing up. But for the most part, the crowd was returning from the game, was completely speechless. A tired grin was a sufficient answer for any and all questions about the game. I could not find these gold footballs. Were you able to find any of these? Or
No, I dug for it.
Okay.
I couldn't find no pictures of
All
these. Like, because they're supposed to go in their Letterman jackets, like, or Letterman sweaters,
Okay.
like a thing, a patch.
I
I couldn't find any.
Couldn't find it either. So if anybody listening to this podcast is a big K-State fan, if you can find the gold footballs, please let us know. We want to check it out. If you look down on the doc, we have like all of the cut and paste photos of every single player on the team. It says guard partner, which I love the now I'm going to believe it's an inside job that he's writing. He's kind of like Clark Kent partner. And he's just basically, he's the one feeding the stuff to the team. Like, he's really not doing too much, but he's writing the article saying that nobody believes in us. And this is next level if that's the actual truth that happened. I want to say the halfback Stoner is like running full speed here in the picture, right in the middle there. Like, he's just like full bore heading at you.
He's trucking.
He is trucking, like, for real. I'm trying to figure out where the one Red, where's Red at?
Elder, he's top left in the first picture.
Top left first picture, but yeah, I mean, he looks like he's a load to bring down, like a fullback. Just incredible. Like, I don't think I could tackle him back in 1934. I really couldn't tackle him.
No, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't
want to mess with him. He looks mean.
That is an amazing Kansas State team. Yeah, I think that's what we get for them. We have just a couple more teams to go, and we're heading into the season.
We'll probably be doing some season previews, which we have no idea how we're going to do them.
We'll make up some acronym.
Well, we already kind of have the acronym. We just got to do the previews, I guess, and how we're going to do it in podcast form.
We'll figure that out.
SEO is our passion.
It
Doing
is.
everything else.
The cool thing about that is that next time we talk to you guys, we'll be in August. The season's here.
That's kind of terrifying.
Oh,
Implying linear time is real.
that's right.